If Wall Street fires up the selling engine for Bitcoin, forget it. Price will double tomorrow.
So 170,000 is your call on this.
So I think Bitcoin will be 100,000 by the end of this year. It'll probably be 170,000 at the end of 2 years. You're now opening the portal to Wall Street. You're a Wall Streeter. You know that Wall Street sells product. Oh, wait a minute. I can buy a Bitcoin ETF and then I can turn it up on my app and I can see where it is every day and it's that easy. Shoot it in.
What do you tell your clients when they ask what's happening, Mooch? What do we have to worry about in the next couple of years?
We have to worry about your stomach for volatility. Because if you don't like volatility, you're going to hate my ass over the next 2 years.
Because it's crypto.
It's crypto.
Talk to me about politics. We got an election coming up. Trump is running again.
The good news for Trump, he's got Joe Biden running this. And Joe Biden, as I've said, he's got one foot on a banana peel, the other foot in a casket, looks terrible, he's older, and people are like, well, I'll go with the more energetic guy versus Biden. Not me. I'm going with the guy that's gonna give us the democracy. I was with the guy in 16. I know exactly what he's doing. He'll say this, and he'll say that, and he'll have a crossword puzzle in your mind, and if you're for him, you'll excuse him, and if you're against him, you'll over-exaggerate what he said. 91 counts, 4 indictments. He's saying all kinds of nonsensical things about our alliances and our allies, and this is very, very dangerous stuff. Let's not go with one flew over the cuckoo's nest, okay? Let's take elderly and forgetful over a person that's insane and needs a lobotomy, okay? Let's not do that, okay? It's not gonna end well if we do that.
The world is changing. Inspiration is everywhere. It has never been so easy to connect, share, and bring people together. We're learning from others and finding the best in ourselves. Challenging our beliefs. Sharing our vulnerability. Overcoming our fears. Transforming ourselves so we can transform the world. How far can we go? This is London Real. I am Brian Rose. My guest today is... This is London Real. I am Brian Rose. My guest today is Anthony Scaramucci, the investment fund manager, Bitcoin advocate, author, and former White House communications director. You are the founder and managing partner of the global investment firm SkyBridge Capital, with over 30 years of experience working on Wall Street. You're also the founder and chairman of the SALT Conference, which has hosted President George W. Bush, Sir Richard Branson, and Mike Tyson. You are a regular commentator on CNBC and host of the popular podcast Open Book, while also featuring as a judge on the TV show Killer Whales. Your latest book, From Wall Street to the White House and Back, The Scaramucci Guide to Unbreakable Resilience, offers words of wisdom from your colorful career. You have recently doubled down on your belief that Bitcoin will hit $170,000 within 18 months of the halving and argue a spot Ethereum ETF is needed next to continue building out the ecosystem. Anthony, welcome back to London.
Hey, it's great to be here, Brian. Thank you. I love the set, love your vibe, love your aura. Everything's good about it.
Thank you, man. You know, we met before either one of us really went deep into crypto. And I think you first came here in 19 or early 20. And
yeah, early 20.
We were talking about White House stuff. And then I kind of blinked and looked back and you were deep in this ecosystem. So
yeah, I mean, so before I came back, I went back and looked at that interview. That's exactly right. We were talking about mistakes in judgment, things that I predict. I also predicted that Trump would lose that election. Yeah. And of course, he went on to lose the election. Not saying that I'm prescient or anything like that. It just seemed like it was common sense at the time. But crypto for me, I followed Mike Novogratz, and I followed
Galaxy Digital,
and I followed Michael Saylor. And so Saylor got his first taste of. First of all, he talks about this, but not that much. Saylor was very negative on Bitcoin. He didn't understand it. He thought it was garbage. And then he had the eureka moment, and that's what happens. Once you have the eureka moment, you're like, oh my God, I've got to own this. And then you wade into crypto, and then you understand the technical properties associated with crypto. You realize all of the nonsense about it being a decentralized pet rock and a Ponzi scheme and all this stuff. You realize none of that's true. And when you realize that, it's a big awakening for people. And so what I tell people, listen, Jamie Dimon doesn't like crypto, Warren Buffett doesn't like crypto, but ask them, have they done the deep dive into Bitcoin or crypto? And they invariably say no. And I would just say that anybody that does that, it's a one-way ticket towards crypto. It's a one-way ticket down the rabbit hole of Bitcoin. Whether it's Paul Tudor Jones, Stan Druckenmiller, Bill Miller, the old legendary Legg Mason portfolio manager that outperformed the S&P, they all own Bitcoin for a reason. They get it, and they move towards it when you understand it more.
Well, you had a conversation, I think, in the hotel lobby with Larry Fink a few years ago, and he saw you and he's like, "You like this Bitcoin thing?" And he's like, "I think it's terrible."
Garbage.
Garbage, yeah.
It was garbage.
But he had just invested in the equity of Circle, I think, so he kind of liked blockchain.
Good memory.
And you said to him, "Look, do some more research on it." You kind of asked him to go a little deeper, and you compliment him for actually doing that. And he's no spring chicken.
First of all, I don't want to take any credit for that. He did that on his own. The only thing where I think we were somewhat additive, Robbie Mitchnick, who is one of his acolytes, works for him at BlackRock, convinced the BlackRock bureaucracy that they should set up a Bitcoin trust, which they then applied for a Bitcoin ETF to convert the trust into an ETF. And the BlackRock bureaucracy went back to Robbie and said, well, you got to prove that you can raise outside money. So he came to my colleague Brett Messing at SkyBridge, and Brett lit him up with $10 million to get the trust started. And so we were the first money into the BlackRock situation. And so Brett Messing, Robbie Mitchnick, they made that happen, which rolled it into the ETF. Now, while we were doing that, Mitchnick and his team were educating Larry Fink, and lo and behold, an unbelievable fixed income expert, an incredible entrepreneur, great businessman, largest asset manager in the world. I get Bitcoin, I'm moving towards Bitcoin, and to quote Larry, it is a store of value, and there will be a flight to safety to that asset.
It's incredible to watch him talk about it now. It just seems like the craziest 180 degree where, and Saylor it tickles him because he's always retweeting when he says it's an asset that protects you, and it's an international store of value, and like all these things that Fink comes out and says. And now he is marketing it like a champ. He's really
absolutely. Well, listen, here's what I would say. I missed Uber. I had Travis in my office. He said, I'm going to create this app. There's a sharing economy. And I said, okay, so hold on a second. My daughter is going to have an app on her phone. There's going to be a no-name driver in a no-name car, his car or her car. Going to pick my daughter up and drive her around the city. I said, okay, no, thank you. That's the stupidest idea that I've ever heard. And so a $500,000 investment in Uber at that time worth $50 million today. So I miss things a lot. And so now the question is, and we were talking about this before the show, the question is, are we right on Bitcoin?
We are.
I believe we are. And
we are.
I believe I have all the statistical and security analytical capability to understand it, and therefore I believe we're right. But I've been humbled by life and markets. I got the early piece of the story very wrong, because when Bitcoin was at 69,000 in November of 2021, I said it's going to 100,000. I did not see the political winds being such where they would block it for political purposes. Knowing full well they were going to lose the court cases at a court of law in the United States, where we have administrative law clauses that prohibit regulators from being arbitrary and capricious. So they knew they were going to lose the court case, and so they crushed Bitcoin and they crushed other digital assets. But here's the thing, Barry, and I'm embarrassed to admit this, and the legendary Max Kaiser is on the wall. Hopefully he won't fall off the wall when I say this. I want to applaud Gary Gensler for one thing. Had he not slowed down the locomotion that was taking place in 2021, we may not have uncovered Sam Bankman-Fried or Three Arrows or any of the other deleveraging or fraudulent debacles that took place.
Yeah.
And so nobody talks about that, but the truth of the matter is, had he done what was pursuant and consistent with the law, we could potentially still be living in a Sam Bankman-Fried world today. So thank God we're not.
And that could have meant a much bigger problem further down the line.
A bigger explosion. Oh, right. No. Everyone that commits fraud to that level, they pretend they can skate.
Right.
And maybe they won't get caught for a year or 2 years, or in Bernie Madoff's case, 30 years. But then it's just a much bigger problem when it eventually goes.
I never heard of that perspective, but you're right, Mooch. If that had kept going, then they could have swept it under the rug and kept it quiet. And then maybe now it would have blown up massively, or in a few years.
And it may have blown up after the ETFs were established, and it could have turned.
Right.
An investor in the ETF is an interesting beast. I don't want to own Bitcoin in a wallet. I don't want a MetaMask wallet. I don't know how to open a Coinbase account. I don't want my own cold storage. Oh, wait a minute. I can buy a Bitcoin ETF with a QSIP number. I call my broker, and it's going to go into my account, and then I can turn it up on my app, and I can see where it is every day, and it's that easy. Shoot it in. But imagine if that first experience for those people was the rollover and crisis and debacle of Three Arrows, FTX, Genesis. You pick the different things that blew up. You know?
Yeah.
So Gary has to be, as much as I dislike him, I think he's been a terrible SEC commissioner, he has to be applauded for that.
Talk about this axis of regulatory evil between Warren and Gensler. Mm-hmm. That's what you called them. You know, I went and took the entire 24-hour class that Gensler taught at Sloan School of Management.
Okay.
I attended Sloan School, but 20 years earlier. And when I watched it and took the whole class, I was struck by how well Gary understood blockchain.
Yeah.
He's very well versed in it and extremely intelligent. And at that time, apolitical about it, and said the Ethereum was not a security.
Talking about Algorand, he's talking about the properties of the decentralization, the code.
It's amazing.
Well, he's an acolyte of Elizabeth Warren's. He wants to be the Treasury Secretary.
Yes.
And
so you have to toe the party line then.
Yeah, but he probably would need a sex change operation and a skin pigmentation change to be the Secretary of Treasury in the woke environment that we're living in now. I don't see a Goldman Sachs white male becoming the Secretary of the Treasury in a Biden administration. Maybe, but I don't think so. But I think he's decided, I'm going to go hard left. I'm going to sit at the desk of Elizabeth Warren. I'm going to write out her memos exactly the way she wants them. And maybe that's my path to this ambition that I have. I mean, it's disgusting, to be honest.
How do you live that way? I just don't understand it.
Oh, welcome to the world of politics. I mean, come on. You're running for mayor.
Yeah, but still.
Remember the scene in Animal Farm, the Orwellian movie?
Yeah,
Orwellian book.
I recently listened to it again on Audible.
So what happened? What happened to the pigs at the end of the book?
At the very end, they're actually hanging out with the humans.
Of course they are.
Right.
Well, the pigs are the smartest of the species.
Yeah.
They're working with the animals in this sort of plurality and this communist structure, and then they become privileged, and they stand up and they have pocket squares and pocket vests and so forth.
Yeah.
They're now part of the bourgeois, and a result of which they've lost the profile of a proletariat. And Orwell's point is that, like, this is what happens. This is the human condition. This is the brain on money and the brain on power.
That book, I mean, gave me shivers. I highly recommend people go read that or listen to it again.
It's a great book.
It's such a great book. He wrote that right here in London, not far from where I live in Hampstead. And I mean, it's heavy stuff. They said that wasn't a criticism of socialism. It was a criticism of the extreme version of socialism.
Yeah. Well, he was trying to write a cautionary tale through an allegory, and a nonfiction book would not have done its service.
Yeah.
So a fiction book about here's how human beings think, and here's a dystopia that can happen if you cede too much power to autocracy.
4 legs bad, 4 legs good, 2 legs bad, is what they say the whole time, talking about animals and humans. And at the very end, when the pigs become civilized, they say 4 legs good, 2 legs better, as they become part of the bourgeois. Yeah. So that's what's happening there as well.
I got to be careful. I mean, there's a danger. Okay, so I turned 60 on the ominous day of the 6th of January. So on my 57th birthday, Trump was trying to overthrow the Capitol and retain power after losing an election. 3 years later, on my 60th birthday, my children said to me, "Hey, Dad, what have you learned at 60?" And I've learned a lot, but there are two things that really stick out. Number one, people can't handle power. They're not designed for power. The power creates impulses in the brain that are indescribable. And so I just want to imagine someone like Vladimir Putin that has absolute monarchical power over his country. It has to drive him crazy because he's mortal. So I have this absolute power, and I have this control over this ephemeral thing. It's going to slip through my hands. They go crazy. They can't handle it.
Also, the stakes are his life in this case, because there's not a lot of retired premiers that live.
And it's about image, and it's about position, and it's about always being at war, like Orwell would say, so I can stay in power. And this is the problem of people who are focused on this sort of stuff.
Okay.
They drive themselves and the world crazy.
Just to finish up on the Bitcoin thing, you were making these really cryptic tweets right before the ETF was approved.
Yeah.
And you were like, it's happening 3 more days.
I told you it was going to happen on a Wednesday.
Yeah, you knew exactly what was happening.
I did.
Because you had invested with BlackRock and you just knew what was going on.
It didn't really have anything to do with that. I had a bet. There's a gentleman by the name of John Reed Stark who you could bring on if you want your viewers to really hate you and hate him. He'll create a big reaction. He is my high school classmate, and he worked in the internet enforcement area of the SEC for 20 plus years. He's now a consultant. He's anti-crypto. He hates everything about crypto. There's nothing you can do to convince him. It doesn't matter. He hates it. And so we made a bet that the ETF was going to get passed. He's a former SEC guy, and he had an inside loop, and he knew he was losing the bet. So that's how I knew. He didn't tell me, but I cryptically figured it out.
Okay. How big is this decision? Are we going to look back on it 10 years from now, 20 years from now? Yeah.
Monumental decision. People didn't, it's priced in. No, it's not priced in. You're now opening the portal to Wall Street. You're a Wall Streeter.
Yeah.
You're a reformed Wall Streeter. You run on a great show here, and you're actually also could be an interior designer. But you know that Wall Street sells product. These products are sold, they're not bought. If Wall Street fires up the selling engine for Bitcoin, forget it. Finite supply. UBS on its own, UBS Wealth Management on its own could double the price of Bitcoin tomorrow. All they got to do is say, hey, we want 0.5% in Bitcoin in our tactical asset allocation portfolios. Let's go. Price will double tomorrow.
Okay, right. There's that much pent-up demand.
100%, and there's no supply.
Right, yeah.
So we have pent-up demand and no supply.
Okay.
So imagine that.
So 170,000 is your call on this, and everyone's been jacking their calls up. Kathy Wood has now said her 1.5 million by 2030 is now happening even earlier than that.
Yes. Well, listen, I don't want to be Kathy. I think we're all differentiated. I'm just going off of technically what has happened since the prior halvings. The prior halvings, you typically move 4x, and then you typically have a retracement. And so I think you're going to move 4x. You will probably have a retracement. We just got one, frankly. But it won't be as big. It'll be a more muted retracement because of all the money being inducted into the market related to Bitcoin.
Okay. Now, people are already saying, enjoy this bull run while it lasts. You got 12 months, 14 months. And then, of course, as we get used to it, we're going to start to sell ourselves that this cycle is different. It's the super cycle.
Right.
And I can see people saying this is different. You got
cause it to go higher because it'll climb the wall of worry of that.
And so what do you think's happening next year? I mean, this thing will...
Well, so I think Bitcoin will be 100,000 by the end of this year. It'll probably be 170,000 at the end of 2 years. And then I think you have to stop and reassess everything. You have to say, okay, is it fully in the marketplace now? Are institutions buying it? Are small institutions buying it? Are endowments buying it? I think if all of those things are happening, it could be a higher price than what I'm suggesting.
Okay. Talk to me about the Ethereum ETF, since you know what's going to happen. Is this being approved? May
So I
23rd is a big date.
I don't know. I have to totally be candid because I don't have the inside scoop on Ethereum, but I don't think it's going to get approved.
Okay.
And I think that Gary will do a flex, an administrative flex, and he'll be Lucy. I don't know if your UK viewers and listeners remember Lucy, but she was in Peanuts. She used to hold the football for Charlie Brown, and she'd say, "Hey, Charlie, come kick the football." And at the last minute when he was going to kick the ball, she pulled the ball away from him. Okay, it's a proverbial stealing of the punch bowl. So I'm mixing metaphors, but you get my point. The Fed, they could do that. You could have unforeseen calamities. A lot of weird things happen with Bitcoin. And I think that the SEC, as it relates to the Ethereum situation, they're taking so much flack from the Elizabeth Warrens about the approval of the ETF. They just may punt it until the next midterms.
Okay. Did they have to approve it at the end of the day? I mean, did they get so much pressure from the money?
Yeah, but they lost the court case.
Right.
So remember,
they still could have sat on it, right?
They could have, but it would have gone to the Supreme Court. It would have been an annihilation. You saw the SEC just got censured today for their overreach, executive administrative overreach for one of these Bitcoin companies. I can't remember which one. Okay. But you have a court telling you that you have to approve the ETF. Remember, Gensler was the winning vote. It went 3-2. He could have voted no, but as he told Elizabeth Warren, he told CNBC, I lost the court case. I'm a guy that respects the rule of law.
Okay. There's something there then.
Yeah.
With Ethereum, it's a yield-bearing instrument.
Yes.
Which is something that Wall Street and traditional FI seem to crave, whether it's a fund or a pension fund or anything.
Well, it might be a security, so you have to be careful with that one because they're opining on it now, and they're taking a position that it is a security. They may lose that case if they ever have to bring it because they lost the Ripple case, and Ripple has certain elements of its non-fungible token that are similar to Ethereum. So again, the courts, the very famous administrative line is arbitrary and capricious. If I pass the Bitcoin ETF, the futures ETF, what am I doing now? And so in other words, they passed the futures. They said no to the Bitcoin ETF. The industry came in and said, wait a minute, that's arbitrary and capricious. It's actually laws that were passed by Ronald Reagan. You can't overly politicize the regulatory process. It shouldn't be about this is a hard left policy decision or a hard right policy decision. It should be about right or wrong.
But there's an Ethereum future, so that means this should happen, right?
I do believe it'll happen, but I think they're going to try to slow it down.
And when it does happen,
nature of the beast.
Will there be a bigger demand from Wall Street because it has a yield curve potentially and it's yield bearing than even Bitcoin?
I'm not sure if it'll be more than Bitcoin.
Okay.
But I do think if Bitcoin trades up to 5 billion, Ethereum is coming right behind it, 2-3 billion.
Okay.
I say billion, but I mean trillion,
Yeah.
I'm getting old billions. When I was a kid, it used to be a lot of money. Now we're into trillions.
Being a millionaire.
It'd be into quintillions or
kids.
Stuff like that.
And besides these two assets, you have Solana positions.
I do.
In the past, you've taught a lot about algo. How do you feel about the rest of the ecosystem right now? We're seeing some craziness.
I like this gaming token, Vulcan Forged.
Okay.
I like Avalanche. We have a big position in Avalanche. We like that one.
Yeah.
It's got an interesting dynamic. It's sort of like the Swiss Army knife of layer ones.
Yeah, I've had
They can batch and they can move quickly. No downtime.
Much of our gaming investments.
Much more gaming investments. Yeah. Ethereum is like, it's won a genre role in art. It's run somewhat of a genre role in entertainment. It's got a yield, like you're saying, so the tokenomics are quite good. So people will stake their Ethereum to get paid. It's a phenomenal product. I mean, Vitalik has to be rewarded for the work that he did to create this product. And you can layer smart contracts on top of the product so we can tokenize. I can put my house contract on it and I can sell it to you. There's a whole host of things that we could do. Now, the democracies will hate parts of it because you could use it to actually itemize and keep track of the citizens that vote. Democracies don't want that. They don't want the people to vote. Less people voting, the better off these guys are, right? They have a 14% approval rating in our Congress, the American Congress, but they have a 93, 94% success rate as incumbents. So you tell me a consumer product company where 1 out of every 5 likes the company, but yet they get jammed at the end of every 2 years with the same product that they dislike. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, it's shocking.
That's the way it works, though.
So they don't want the blockchain coming because it's transparent and it's truth. So they'll resist it.
Correct.
Okay, but it's coming.
Coming one way or another because it's necessary, and it's a check on monetary policy, and it's actually a decent to incredible store of value.
What do you think of some of these yield protocols like Eigenlayer and some of the things they're going to stack up on Ethereum? Mm-hmm. I just had a guy in this morning who is doing a liquid restaking company. This looks kind of interesting. It's the talk of the town right now. It's talking about double-digit yields, which again also makes people a little nervous. Is this potentially the future?
So I think there is a future, but I also would be nervous because a lot of this stuff is pitched one way and it's outside of the hands of the people.
Yeah, and we've seen things blow in the past.
Brian, that's one thing I know. In a bad situation, the correlations go to 1. So you can tell me, oh, look at my Sharpe ratio and look at this, look at that. There's an Armageddon, everything goes to 1.
Right, because we've seen that happen on Wall Street too.
Of course.
Yeah.
And by the way, we both know that the 500-year flood happens on Wall Street every 5 years.
I know. It's funny because I teach now in crypto and DeFi to these students, and I say, when I first got on Wall Street and Bankers Trust in 1993, they were pointing out the different desks. That's the Latin American desk, and the crisis was in 88, and this is the Asian desk, the last crisis was there, and and I was like, there's a crisis every 4 years.
Right.
Like, don't you guys ever learn? And they're like, no, this is the way the markets work.
Yeah, because they're printing money in the interregnum between crises. They also know they're going to get a government bailout during the crises. You know, you're mentioning things that are going to go down memory lane with you. In 94 into 95, we had the Mexican peso debacle. The U.S. Congress did not want the American administration to bail them out. Rubin got out his whiteboard or his yellow pad, and he figured out a way to do it, and he did it. That's the way it works.
And it happens all the time.
And we go hard left when there's bad news. George Bush was like, whoa, what's going on here? Oh, we're going to lose the banking system? Hard left. Give them the money out of TARP, save the banking system.
Right. It's the same move every time.
Yeah. There's no Joseph Schumpeter. Remember Keynes said in the long run, we're all dead. Richard Nixon said, we're all Keynesians now. I'm saying Joseph Schumpeter is dead. He was the author of Creative Destruction. Let the stuff go to zero. You know, we'll prune it, we'll evolve and revolve, and we'll have a much greater success story in the future. That's not how it works.
Right. Okay. But the dollar's not going anywhere. It's going to be around for a long time.
No way.
Really?
Yeah, no. Yeah. I'm in complete agreement with you. There's no way the dollar's going anywhere.
Right.
Complete agreement with you. The reserve currency tracks a number of different vital signs on the economic dashboard. One is a robust economy. We have that. Number 2 is quiescent or quiescent, however you say it, inflation. We have that. We're roughly back to the 2% target. It tracks the largest military footprint. Not only